And now, here for you, this is News Views, a newscast for Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, and the world. And now, Michael Badger.
Good evening, I'm Michael Badger. Top story tonight. Our top story tonight is from WCIA TV Channel 3 in Champaign, and there was a handgun brought in by a student to Central High School in Champaign, Illinois, just the other day, and it turned out the weapon was an airsoft gun. Police questioned two students about this weapon, and the airsoft gun was found in a second-floor classroom. Police were then led to the gazebo in Central Park. That's where they found pellets for the airsoft gun. And this happened Friday last week. And moving right along, well, they did have a lockdown at Central High School, according to Channel 3. And we'll move on to Savoy, Illinois, where Crime Stoppers and police, where the police are investigating a burglary of multiple power tools in Savoy and other construction equipment and accessories. This happened at the trailer in the 100 block of Sunflower Drive sometime between 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, May 1st and 5:30 p.m. Wednesday, May 2nd. The trailer is a newly developed residential area that's still under construction. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. You may remain anonymous, and you might earn a cash reward. The Champaign County Crime Stoppers number to report any information, if you know it, is 217-373-TIPS or 373tips.com, or text tip 397 plus info to crimes or 274637. Now, another story here from CNN Money, or money.cnn.com. J.P. Morgan trading flap stirs Congress is the headline. And this is by Jennifer Liberto. And they say Congress is beginning to weigh in on the news that J.P. Morgan Chase lost $2 billion on complex trades intended to hedge against economic risk, and that the losses could mount. Senator Bob Corker, a Tennessee Republican, was the first to call for a hearing Friday. And in a letter to Senate Banking Committee Chairman Tim Johnson, he said, quote, "Clearly the losses posted by J.P. Morgan are significant, and as policymakers we should understand in detail what has transpired," Corker said to Tim Johnson. So far, no congressional committee has answered his call yet. A spokesman for the Senate banking panel said, quote, "We are waiting to learn more on the facts before making a decision on a hearing." And the House Financial Services Committee and House Oversight Committee staff members said that they had no plans yet to hold hearings yet. The J.P. Morgan controversy comes about less than 2 years after a big push for Wall Street reform led to the passage of the Dodd-Frank Act. On Friday, 2 senators who helped craft the Volcker rule, a new not in effect part of Dodd-Frank that bars banks from making trades for their own profit-chasing purposes, denounced J.P. Morgan's trades. J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon said last week that the faulty trades would have been allowed under the Volcker rule, named for former Fed chief Paul Volcker, since the rule appears as though it will allow for economic hedging. However, Democratic senators Jeff Markey of Oregon and Carl Levin of Michigan said they intended the law to ban the kind of trades that J.P. Morgan Chase traders made. They plan to push regulators to write and enforce a strict ban on the so-called propriety trading and hedging against economic forces. The news has even drawn angry accusations from the political field. A Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in Massachusetts, Elizabeth Warren, called Dimon to step down from his position as a board member of the New York Federal Reserve. And she said, quote, "This is about accountability," unquote. They said this to CNN show Starting Point on Monday. She also said, Jamie Dimon, not only is CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, he holds his position of public trust, advising the New York Fed on how to regulate risk for these large financial institutions like his own financial institution, unquote. And I think we'll take a break and come back with more NewsView after this.
Explore what's out there. Find out more. Visit Nature Explore at arborday.org.
What makes a rainbow bend? Where does the universe end? To know the world from A to Z.
Discover science and technology.
Where is the dinosaur? What's on the ocean floor? To know the world from A to Z.
Astronomy, biology, chemistry, zoology, science and technology.
It's fun, you'll see. Why is the sun so warm? What makes a winter storm? And what's a quadruped? Why is the planet Mars red? You'll find there's lots to know, and exploring as you go, to know the world from A to Z.
Discover science and technology. Astronomy, biology, chemistry, zoology, science and technology. It's fun, you'll see.
A public service message from the National Science Foundation.
Excuse me, Dan, but you should never plug a major appliance into an extension cord. Good job, Dan. Damaged cords can erupt into sparks and cause a fire. Use light bulbs with the correct wattage and fix damaged cords. That's great, Dan. Never place anything that can burn over a lamp. Good job, Dan. Now, stay safe. Life isn't a cartoon. There are thousands of electrical fires each year. Don't be a doofus. Learn more about preventing fires at nfpa.org.
Welcome back to NewsView. I'm Michael Badger. According to ComputerWorld.com, for the second time in 8 months, Yahoo is without a permanent CEO. This latest development is bringing more trouble for a company struggling to regain its stature in the industry. The company announced Sunday that Scott Thompson, Yahoo's CEO since January, has left the company. Thompson, age 54, had been under heavy fire over the past few weeks since a discrepancy was revealed at his IT credentials on his resume and the company website, along with documents filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission. With Thompson out, Ross Levinson, who has been serving as the company's head of global media, will step in and intern I lost my place here. Step in as interim CEO while the board searches for a permanent replacement. Thompson's departure from Yahoo comes nearly a week after the company announced that a special 3-member committee had been set up to investigate the CEO, his academic credentials, and the circumstances surrounding his hiring. His resume claimed that he had a degree in computer science when he does not. And you can see more about that at ComputerWorld.com. And according to Otis News, Obama calls pastors to explain gay marriage support. Black churches conflicted by president's decision is the headline. And this is by Dylan Stableford of Yahoo News. After making his historic remarks on same-sex unions last week, President Barack Obama led a conference call with the black church pastors to explain his support for gay marriage, says the New York Times. The call, held with 8 or so African-American ministers, occurred about 2 hours after the president's interview with ABC's Robin Roberts. Obama explained to them that he struggled with the decision. Pastors on the call told the paper, but several voiced their disapproval. Quote, they were wrestling with their ability to get over his theological position, unquote. The Reverend Delman Coates, a Maryland pastor who was on the call, told the Times. The conference call was part of a quiet effort by the president to control potential political damage caused by his support of same-sex marriage. According to the Times, Obama phoned at least one, the Reverend Joel C. Hunter, of the 5 spiritual leaders he calls regularly for religious guidance, and his aides contacted other religious figures who have been supportive in the past. Hunter, the pastor of a conservative megachurch, said he wasn't surprised Obama didn't ask him advice before the ABC interview because, quote, I would have tried to talk him out of it, unquote. At services Sunday, black churches were conflicted about the President Obama's support of gay marriage, according to USA Today. And they said some churches were silent on the issue. At others, pastors spoke against the president's decision Wednesday, but kindly of the man himself. A few blasted the president and his decision, and a minority spoke in favor of the decision and expressed understanding of the president's change of heart. Bishop Timothy Clark, head of the First Church of God, a large African-American church with a television ministry in Columbus, Ohio, was perhaps most typical. He felt compelled to address the president's comments at Wednesday evening service and again Sunday morning. He was responding to an outpouring of calls, emails, and text messages from members of his congregation, which occurred after the president's remarks. What did he hear from churchgoers? Quote, "No church or group is monolithic. Some were powerfully agitated and disappointed. Others were curious. Why now? To what end? Others were hurt, and others, to be honest, told me it was not an issue. They don't have a problem with it," unquote. And what did the bishop tell his congregation? He opposes gay marriage. It is not just a social issue, he said, but a religious one for those who follow the Bible, he said. And he said, quote, "The spiritual issue is the ground of the Word of God," unquote. That said, I believe the statement the president made in his decision was made in good faith. I'm sure because the president is a good man, I know his decision was made after much thought and consideration, and I'm sure even prayer. That's from Otis News of the United States at abcnews.go.com. It's from ABC News. And from the Burbank Leader, burbankleader.com, search continues for FBI agent reported missing since Thursday. Authorities continue to search for an FBI agent who was last seen at his Burbank home Thursday, when he was thought to be despondent and possibly suicidal. Stephen Ivins, 35, a LA-based agent specializing in national security, left on foot from his home in the 1700 block of Scott Road, his family told police Friday morning. You can contact Burbank Police if you know his whereabouts at 818-238-3000 or the FBI at 310-420-6441. And in other news from USA Today's tech section, Mark Zuckerberg is turning 28 years old today, setting the motion of the social network's biggest week ever. The company is expected to start selling stock to the public for the first time and begin trading on NASDAQ stock market on Friday. And in local news, more local than that anyway, according to therepublic.com, Governor Quinn, Pat Quinn of Illinois, is going to push an agenda of cutting spending, and this has landed him in an unusual alliance with business. They say Governor Pat Quinn began his career on populism and consumer advocacy. But in the middle of what might be his defining political moment, he finds himself in an unlikely alliance with major Illinois business groups in a battle against unions and advocates for the poor. Quinn has proposed sharp cuts in both Medicaid and pensions for government workers to save billions in expenses the state can't afford to pay. In that, he, for the most part, has the support of the state's business community. Business leaders say it's a surprise the ideas are coming from Quinn, a surprise they welcome. And you can read more about that at therepublic.com. And we go now to WICD-TV, where University of Illinois graduates of the class of 2012 had commencement as other schools across the country did this weekend. They welcomed thousands of people at the Assembly Hall to send off the new graduates. You can see more about that at WICD.com under 2012 U of I graduates. You can read more there at WICD15.com. And also from there, the family of a victim that was said to have been bullied by Mitt Romney years ago has challenged the accusation. The presidential hopeful finds himself on the defensive end of something that happened in 1965. The published reports say he bullied a peer in high school, but as it says here, the victim's family challenged that accusation. And stay tuned for weather for South Central Illinois right here on NewsView after this.
1-800-222-1222. 1-800-222-1222. If you think it might be poison, then the first thing you should do is call 1-800-222-1222.
For poison emergencies or just questions, the Poison Control Center hotline is here 24/7 with the expert help you need.
If you think it might be poison and you don't know what to do, call 1-800-222-1222.
At Julie, we wish you could see what our utility members see. But you can't. Even if it seems to be a small backyard project, why take chances? Simply call Julie. Or now, click on eRequest at illinoisoncall.com.
You know, you think it would never happen. That can't happen to me. You know, Caitlin's too good of a kid for bad things to happen. It does. You don't want to lose your children like this. You don't want to lose your children at all. And do whatever you can to keep it from happening. If you're not educated about electrical safety yourself, become educated and educate your children, your grandchildren, nieces, nephews, anybody that you can, to keep this from happening to their families, because I would never wish this upon anyone, ever. It's important. You don't realize how important these things are until tragedy strikes.
Kids need TLC. Teach what you know, learn what you need to, and care enough to share it with those you love. To learn more, visit safeelectricity.org.
Here's your News View weather forecast for tonight, Monday, May 14th, 2012. Tonight, mostly clear skies with a low of 49 degrees Fahrenheit. And for your Tuesday tomorrow, sunny skies, 82 degrees. Tuesday night, 58 degrees and partly cloudy. Wednesday, mostly sunny, 80 degrees for the high. And Wednesday night, a low of 51 under partly cloudy skies. This has been your News View weather forecast for South Central Illinois.
Support Tree City USA by planting trees. Visit arborday.org.